Hello out there. Today on the Young Americans podcast, we're going to be talking about patriotism. What does it mean if you're a service member? What does it mean if you're just a civilian? What does it mean if you're a chick with a bong? A lot of different versions of it. We're going to get into it today. I got two special friends with me to discuss it. Let's kick it. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Young American Podcast. I am Dr. G. I'm here with my co-host Shannon, and we'll be speaking with a good old friend of ours who's actually a military service member, and because we're going to focus on the topic of patriotism today. So, Shannon, what in your mind does patriotism mean?
Patriotism for me is not necessarily love of country, but love of the people that reside in your country. And that is, it's all the people. It's the ones that, fight for whatever the commander-in-chief orders them to fight for, and those who survive on Medicaid.
Wide range, but I appreciate that.
All the people. Sea to shining sea, for sure.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I mean, to me, patriotism just means what you believe is a way to love your country, I guess. In a nutshell, however you express that, whether you think that patriotism is more of a First Amendment thing, like burning a flag, or patriotism's more of a saluting a flag type of thing. I kind of have a big... I'll accept a lot of things as patriotism. I'll put it that way. I'm pretty easygoing in terms of I'm not easily offended by somebody's idea of patriotism. But that being said, I want to bring in Sailor Jacky to the conversation right now and see what his idea of patriotism is, because I think he's got a unique angle, being a United States service member, having that sort of responsibility on your shoulders, that sort of thing. So, Sailor Jacky, hit me with patriotism. What is it for you, buddy?
I personally believe that patriotism is a dedication to certain principles that the country was founded upon, and just being dedicated to those. I mean, from my personal mindset, that's what it's about. Now, that can mean a lot of things. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be like a certain type of person to fulfill those things. Many different people can go about.
Well, what are like some specifics you would want in terms of your idea of patriotism?
In terms of myself, or in terms of just
abroad, just yourself. Like, what do you think is, as a United States service member, what is your level of patriotism? Would you say, like, do you salute the flag every morning? Are you more in the Star Spangled Banner every morning crowd? Like, where are you at with your patriotism?
Well, the thing about that, it's funny you said it, because I'm actually obligated to do so every single morning that I wake up. I mean, it's not just. I mean, it's part of the what we call the plan of the day. So it's it's part of the rules and what we have to do. But I do so freely. I do so because I want to do so. But patriotism can mean a lot of different things. I mean, it really does. It's very, very broad spectrum.
So when you people like Shannon and myself who don't wake up saluting or Star Spangled Bannering, like, is there a judgment there of those people are less patriotic because they don't do those types of things, or is it accepted that your calling is in the armed services, and so that's just something you have to do Monday through Friday type of thing, and you don't judge people that don't do that?
Well, I do enjoy doing that type of thing, but no, you and Shannon or whoever else is not obligated to do such a thing, because those are the principles of the country. You don't have to be gung-ho, rah-rah, patriotic American. You don't have to do any of those things. And that's kind of the beauty of it. You can wake up and You can give the middle finger to the flag. You can burn the flag. It's an expression of your First Amendment liberty.
Shannon, do you burn the flag or give the middle finger to the flag or middle finger the flag while burning it?
Not on days that end in Y, absolutely, but on occasion sometimes. But Jack, you brought up twice now principles of the country, that like the principles that the country was founded on. I was wondering how do you define those principles? Is there a list of like 5, or what does that mean for you?
Well, for me, it's not an original story. I mean, you're not going to hear anything original from what I say. It's a defense of the Constitution as it was written.
Yeah, you sound kind of like a constitutionalist. Like you're okay with people expressing their First Amendment right, type of thing. Is that more of your angle, like a constitutionalist?
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's explore this one thing we were talking about. Like we talk about the flag, the one thing, okay, that falls underneath the First Amendment. That you can do that. You can do what you will for it, But
it's pretty awesome at a concert when somebody sets it on fire, though. I mean, you have to admit that.
Yeah, Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Woodstock. That was a statement. Yeah, or like at rallies and shit.
Right. But I think it's more patriotic for the service member to defend that right, even though that right sometimes might come across as heinous. Than to go against it. You know what I'm saying?
Now, what do you say in terms of when people, some service members look at it as, look, my brother died for that flag, or, my dad died for that flag, or maybe, they dedicated their life to defending that flag. Do you feel that those people are justified in the emotion that they have for that?
The emotions that they have are of note, but they're not necessarily completely defended because of the fact that you have the right to do so. People have the right to discard and dishonor the flag if they so choose. They do, and that's part of their freedom as an American. Now, it might not seem friendly or like it might not. I don't like it, and if I were at hand when such an action were to happen, I don't know how I would react because I haven't been in that situation. But it is their right to do so. It's kind of a hard thing, but
Well, in that same vein, I mean, do you see like when you come to the word patriot, you saw the word anti-patriot being thrown around a lot with Colin Kaepernick when he was kneeling during the national anthem. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that he was being anti-patriotic? Because to me, kneeling during the national anthem is a lot less worse than burning the flag.
Question: does it matter if you kneel with one knee or the other, or is it like worse with one? Just a basic question. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Hey, listen. I think that even though I defend capitalism and everything, I think it's more unpatriotic for a sports player, a football player, even though I'm a sports fanatic, to make $19 million a year than it is for him to kneel during the national anthem. During the national anthem, he can do whatever. If you're an American, you can do whatever you want during the national anthem. You can pull down your pants and salute the flag in a different fashion.
And I have.
If we're really getting into the So if we're really getting into the constitutionality of it all, I mean, like, are we talking about law? Are we talking about
well,
I'm talking about your.
Yeah, I mean, the basis of the question is, in terms of the Kaepernick discussion, in my mind, the basis of the question is, does he have a right to do that? Absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like even a lot of people were supporting his right to do that. But the downside of it and the blowback was more of, who is he offending doing it? Who is he turning off in doing it? And so then is it more of a negative statement than a positive statement there? And ultimately, again, it's a patriotism question. If somebody else's patriotism means that, hand on the heart the whole time and then the salute and everything. And, to somebody else, that's time to grab a beer. It's different for each person. So But I think it's a good question because obviously that was a flashpoint for our culture. People were very divided on that.
And I guess with my question though, I was more looking towards is an act against the not like an act against the United States, but an act that can be perceived as some people determine it to be anti-patriotic. Is it patriotic to criticize your country? Is basically my question.
Yeah.
Is it patriotic
Yeah.
to stand up and say we could be better?
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, I think you have to do that. I think where Jack and I agree is that, as the great George Carlin said, the flag is a symbol, and we leave symbols to the simple-minded.
Amen.
And, that sounds bad. That sounds bad in that it's kind of degrading something that represents our country, and I don't mean it in that regard. But what I mean is that the flag is not the material it's made out of in a few colors and stitching. The flag is what it represents, and ultimately that's talking about the Constitution. What we've all agreed on is, the way that we would like our country to run, the rights that everyone should have to debate things, to have their opinion, to see things a certain way and voice that. So I think Jack and I are in the same vein of perhaps constitutionalist views that, patriotism to one person is going to mean, not kneeling during a national anthem. And that is going to be a flashpoint for people. But I'm glad that, Shannon, you brought up the idea of the NFL because one thing that Jack and I were discussing previously was, how these teams get paid by either the Department of Defense or, basically the federal government to have patriotism acts. Paid patriotism is kind of like the coined term for it. So, Jack, I mean, where do you stand on that in terms of, knowing that when you're watching a Falcons game and they have the jets go overhead
Right.
and the cannons go off, that basically they got paid to do that. That wasn't necessarily something they, decided, hey, this Sunday it would be nice to do that. They got paid to do that. How does that make you feel?
The answer is a little bit interesting because I'm coming from the perspective of both a military service member and also I'll be completely honest, I'm a sports fanatic. I love sports. I can't help it. It's great. It's awesome. But there's some studies I've been reading about that talk about how sports teams they'll wear the camouflage jerseys and they'll wear the American flag on their hat for the 4th of July and Memorial Day and all this different stuff. They have all these promos.
Yeah, the camo jerseys look pretty sick. I mean, if nothing
that
else.
is good. But the other side of the coin, I feel, listen, I'll go in my uniform to a baseball game or a hockey game. Yeah, it's cool. In San Diego, the Padres. They're right by Naval Base San Diego, which is the second biggest naval base in the world, opposite to where I'm stationed. It's a cool thing. The other side of the discussion is this the primary source of patriotism that Americans express? And if it is the primary source, then I think we have some issues, and I have a problem with that. Because even though I'm a military member and I'm a sports fan, it's all great, it's fun, it's a pride thing, but how are Americans primarily expressing their patriotism? And if it's through sports and they go to sports games and they feel good, that's good, but is that your only legitimate source of it? And if it is,
Well, do you think it's insulting that the team has to be paid to do that? That it's not just something?
That's a complicated thing. When it comes to like the Pentagon and relationships between sports leagues and sports teams and everything, it's complicated. It is, and I'm totally honest with you. I don't know. I don't know if it's right or wrong, because promotion of the military is a good thing. What my criticism.
Right, Shannon, what do you think? I mean, you're more of like open-minded. You don't really, in terms of the sports, that's not like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I could care less about professional sports. Don't get me wrong.
I noticed.
I love going to a live game, but as far as like following teams and stuff like that. I am profoundly uninterested. But
I've noticed.
but
yeah, that's a good
yeah,
thing.
I mean, we're all diverse people, and it's fine. But I feel like we're starting to, and not that it's a bad thing, but to somewhat muddle the lines between patriotism and support for our military. And I feel like our military is a definitely a part of patriotism, but it's not the only part. I mean, it's obviously the part that we see the most and the part that is reflected most in our society. And personally, I mean, I don't know, Jack, I'm sure you obviously have the more direct experience on this, but I don't think that we treat our soldiers, particularly our veterans, in any sort of respectful way. Like I would much rather have that money for the jets to fly over to go to veteran services, and especially mental health care and physical health care, rather than seeing a bunch of, dudes in tight pants, watch them fly over on a Megatron, or whatever, a big.
You had me until you crapped on the tight pants.
I crapped out on the tight pants. It was a good line until I got there, but you know where I'm going.
No, but I agree. It's that's a valid point of if they're going to pay, let's just say $1 million to have patriotic things happening in the stadium every Sunday, would that $1 million not be better sent directly as a check to the Veterans Administration to take care of somebody who is waiting 4 months to see a doctor for an eye infection or something like that? I think that's a really valid point.
Yeah, it is.
But I wanted to bounce this idea off you guys because I think that in terms of patriotism, we have a lot of options, as you both have mentioned. And I just want to bounce this idea off you guys. What if we just took it to the next level and had the game on the aircraft carrier, on the deck?
Funny, it's funny you say that, Greg, because actually President Obama, I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago during March Madness, he had a game on a carrier, which was really cool. And it was.
Was it on the deck?
I was on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier. So that was.
Dude, that's the stuff we never hear about Obama, man. That's so fucking gangster.
All it takes is a Google search and you got it. So that was cool. That was cool.
I don't know. I was watching Fox that day.
Yeah.
So I didn't catch it.
I'm his #1 fan all day, every day. Come on. I love that guy.
But what about seeing a NBA game on the deck? You know what I'm saying? To take patriotism to the next level.
Is that
just
patriotism
LeBron
though?
tomahawking.
I don't understand how these two are equating. It sounds like a great spectacle.
Well, because exactly, I hear you, and what I'm getting at is that when we're watching an NFL game and the Jets fly overhead and they have the salute and all that, is that patriotism? Because if you had 2 hoops set up on the deck and Bulls versus Knicks going on the deck with a bunch of drones filming it and maybe a handful of guys on the deck filming it, I mean, isn't that the same sort of odd amalgamation of what calculates as patriotism?
Yes.
That is a pure.
Well, but you couldn't sell any tickets to it. What are they going to do? Sell the fucking water?
Charge a ton of money for those commercials in between. I mean, not quite Super Bowl status, but to me, that's not patriotism. It's capitalism.
No, Shannon.
Jack, you don't want a game on the deck? I mean, come on. There's got to be guys on that ship that want to see LeBron dunk on the deck.
Greg, I told you, I'm conflicted on this, okay? But Shannon and I can agree with this. And Shannon and I don't really agree on a lot of ideological issues. But where I will say Shannon is right, and I can stand with her, is that the word patriotism is broad. It's all about culture. It's all about life. It's not just about sports. And the conflict I have is just because I love sports and I'm in the military. So it's of course I'm going to salute the flag when I'm in at Wrigley Field. It's a nice summer day, and I got a break from all the 20-hour days that I've been working in a row. Of course I feel good when I'm doing that. I'm not going to deny that, but I'm saying that it's a very, very it's a loaded question, and the question is great to explore. We should always explore this question, but we should go farther with the question. We should go farther with the explanation, as to say that patriotism is about that, but it's also about ordinary life, and it's about the expression of the things people do, and it's about the economy and work and people.
I don't know, man. You go back to your base and tell everybody that you shit on LeBron James dunking.
I feel
on
like
the
you
fucking
really
net, man.
stuck
It's not
on
gonna
this
be
basketball game on an aircraft.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's the next level.
It's
I'm saying it's
LeBron.
happened.
You know what I mean?
I'm saying it's happened, and I'm bored, and I'd like to talk about how I feel. I express my patriotism. Like, thinking about this and what I've done recently. So I have recently taken a 4-month trip around the world.
Globetrotter. World
Yeah,
traveler.
exactly. I'm not gonna lie, I hit a lot of places. I skipped over the Middle East because, well, who wants to go to a dumpster fire? But
Yeah, totally. Don't blame me
I
there.
I followed you on Instagram. It was awesome.
yeah, it was a good time, and I felt, honestly, I was often, I mean, I spent an entire month in Bali, and I didn't meet another single American the entire time that I was there. And it was interesting.
But continue. Yeah, great. Yeah.
I didn't travel halfway around the world to go hang out with a bunch of other people who had similar backgrounds to me. Like, that would have, to me, defeated the point of traveling.
I'm just joking.
Do you feel like your journey brought out a certain type of patriotism, in that it's like you were, if you had no other Americans around you, you were somewhat like the representation for us where you were, and that sort of thing?
And I felt like that I was, yes, exactly, the sole representation of, the American people. And I felt, for lack of a better word, a duty to be the best version that I could be, because so many people are bombarded with images of Americans on television, particularly the fuzzy orange one that seems to be in charge these days. And I wanted to stand for something else. I wanted to stand for what I was and who I am. And I feel like, as far as layers go, I'm, a human, then a woman, and then a family member, and I don't know, 5 or 6, I am an American. Like, it's, American makes the top 10 list, and I felt good to represent my country in such a positive way, when a lot of images that go out there now of our country are not necessarily shiny.
Well, I think that that's a good point that you brought up, of that, what other countries' opinion of, in terms of what is an American, what do they represent, that sort of thing. That's like a fluid conversation, it seems like. Of course we have elected leaders in that, and, whether they're good or bad in people's opinion, that can, shit on people's idea of what America represents. But I think, this is a key thing for me, is that, we have to take ownership of how our country is
ownership
viewed, and building relationships in terms of, while you were traveling, you met people, you were able to have a conversation with them, get them to understand you're a beautiful, decent person, and those sorts of things. That is, to me, patriotism. Because you're promoting that America is an open-minded type of thing. We like people from wherever you're from, as long as you don't believe in blowing yourself up in a church. We're not, all robots, and we don't all think the same way, dress the same way, look the same way. And I don't know that I could have picked a better person to send out there as an ambassador for us, in terms of, you're a very diverse person in terms of your interests and your beliefs. And I mean, if I was in another country and I met you, my opinion would completely be changed of what I thought of an American and what patriotism is to me. That's
shucks, man, you're making me blush. That's so nice.
I just saluted you. Jack, what do you think about what other countries' opinion of America is? Being a service
once again,
member.
It's a very broad question. Can we specify the context a little bit, just a little bit?
Do you feel like other people think we suck or not?
I think that it's a very big world, and I think that question goes yes and no. Can we please just give me a context please, and I'll attack the context.
Well, the basis of my question in terms of patriotism is, obviously patriotism is not unique to the United States.
No.
You watch the North Korean March, you would say that
Well,
those
Jesus,
people are pretty
Greg,
patriotic
yeah,
in terms of
sure.
their country.
Okay.
So what I'm getting at is that,
That's the
each
example
country
you
has
picked.
their own way of patriotism. Well, I'm just saying, they really had that march together. Say what you will
them and their
about
failed
them having
demonstrations
food
of,
or.
Yes, yeah, great, yeah, awesome.
I'm just asking, as a service
Right.
member, do you feel like, other countries judge our patriotism? That, do you feel like the viewpoint is that most Americans, especially men, have a giant boner for America, and, we live it, we breathe it, and do you feel like that is the perception in terms of your travels and your service?
Well, you know what, man, I'm gonna be a little political and philosophical with you. Okay, I'm not gonna answer the question completely and specifically, because I will tell you that philosophically speaking, okay, the freedom and the rights of man are sacrosanct.
People, freedom and the rights of people.
That's the liberal I'm looking for.
There she is. Great, awesome. You know what I meant, okay?
But why don't you just say what you mean instead of defaulting to them?
We understand, manhole cover.
There's nothing I'm disguising, okay? So those things are.
But do you feel like people judge our patriotism in a negative way? Just as somebody watching that march in North Korea would think, like, man, is that what those guys do, like, all the time? Or do they ever march, like, lazily?
Listen, I can't speak for the people of North Korea. I can't speak for the people of other nations. I could speak for the people of countries that do stand for the principles that we espouse. The principles that we espouse are eternal principles, okay? The principles based in the Declaration of Independence, okay, as textbooks, and as cheesy as it sounds, and as Shannon is probably rolling her eyes as I say this, are eternal principles. Yeah, it's fine. So and I respect that, but they're eternal principles, okay? So they last for all times, they last for all ages.
No, I need that list though. Tell me what.
I don't know the list. But
you said it's everywhere. You say it like it's common knowledge, but I mean, I feel like I'm pretty sure like slavery, 2/3 of a person was also in the Constitution. So it's like
3/5 of a person. Yeah, 3/5 of a person.
We did have some rewrites.
Right. So
Shannon, I'm not speaking from the Constitution as it was ratified September 17th. 1787, okay?
I know, but you've said that though. You said that like the principles that our country was founded on. You've said that several times, and I just what are those principles? I want to know what they are.
I'm not trying to.
And what are they in modern day?
Right, and I feel like there's going to be a difference. So what we were necessarily founded on, and how maybe it's interpretation, maybe how they are interpreted today.
Great. Let me tell you this: the first 13 of them. Actually, first 15 or 16. The first 16 of them are unshakable. They're in concrete. They are as they were forever and ever. Do you know the first 16? Both of you?
No.
Definitely not.
No, I have Google though.
You
got like the first 4 or 5.
You guys know the first 10, okay? Okay, first 10.
I honestly don't know them from memory. I know I get to say whatever I want. I know I get a gun. After that.
No, I mean, okay, well, let's go point by point then. Like, what?
All right, great. Let's do it.
And then and now, like.
What I'm saying, okay, I'm not. This is not okay. The reason why you're laughing and the reason why you're rolling your eyes is because you think that I'm speaking from the perspective strictly of a late 18th century perspective by itself. Okay. And
just to be clear, I don't feel like you ride a horse. I'm not saying that.
She might, but
okay, let's stop putting thoughts.
I drive a Volkswagen R32 sports car. It goes 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds. But
I don't own a car. Can we move on, please?
Navy, huh?
Really? Why not? Anyway. No, but okay. The Bill of Rights is basically your basic rights, your speech rights, your rights to defend yourself. The rights to attorneys, rights to not pay excessive bail, the rights for the states to this, that, and the other, and the 10 through 13 are the rights of people to vote and citizenship rights, and all the things that were ratified in the late 19th century, actually, after the Civil War, this, that, and the other. Okay. What I'm saying is that the principles of the American Republic last for all times, and people who seek freedom should pursue them. So if you talk about people across the world, their views of America, whether their views of America are bad or whether they're good, those principles are not just American principles. They're principles of freedom that are eternal, that last for all times, that all human beings that seek freedom should try to obtain. So it's not just...
Well, I hear you, man.
That's
honestly, I think there's
saying.
aspects that America gets a lot of hate on, and it's like we got to be real about it. I mean, look at Russia. They have a terrible demonstration just because a bunch of people that are trying to voice that being homosexual is okay, and that we don't mind it in our country. A bunch of those people got the shit kicked out of them, and the rally was shut down and those sorts of things.
Are we getting anywhere,
though?
though?
Through the list of all the countries.
You get what I'm saying? I mean, Shannon, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. When I hear you say that, honestly, my takeaway from it is that, when I hear you say that, I think, I agree with you that other countries that share our desire for freedom and share our, belief that you exercise those rights because no one can take them away from you. And I think that that's a very high standard worldwide. Obviously there's countries in Europe that are up there in terms of their interpretations of freedom, liberties, and those sorts of things. But, on the same blue planet, we got a bunch of places that are very not that. Very not that.
Well, and I feel like we're all...
and we have to have that contrast.
And I feel like we're all at different stages of our evolution, because I have Googled the Bill of Rights, and I'm sitting here looking at each of the amendments, and it's just, I feel like
right here. You can just ask me.
Okay, well,
ask
well, I did ask you several times, and you just said that I should know them. So now I'm knowing them. We got to
start that website.
I'm looking at them, and I'm knowing
1 through 10 are very rudimentary.
Yeah, well, agree to disagree. I mean, they're written at a time that just does not reflect what right now looks like. I feel like it could use an upgrade.
Okay, great, awesome. You think that way, okay? What I'm saying is, which of the Bill of Rights, the original 10 amendments to the Constitution, does not apply today? They apply for all ages. That's the only reason why I talk about them, because they apply in any age. That's it.
But I feel like they're not. I feel like they're not reflective of any age. Seriously though, I feel like it's not reflective of how we live. So the Fourth Amendment, the right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall be issued. Blah 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 blah.
Okay.
I mean, pretty much Snowden let us know that one.
Just because men.
That if you want to talk about Bill, that amendment is not being respected by the government.
Just because men, Rand Paul will tell you, and his father will tell you, but just because men do not abide by the principle or the law doesn't mean that the law is not sacrosanct. Those who do not abide by that law are absolutely not patriots. No.
So if the ones who are charged with implementing the law and securing the law, such as congressmen and police officers, so if they're not respecting the law, the law is not being upheld, or the amendment is not being upheld.
Okay. In certain scenarios, it's not upheld, but generally speaking, in American life, it is upheld. Yes. Next question.
I mean, I always, I hear what you're saying, Shannon, and honestly, after the Snowden release, and I don't know how many other leaks that came out between WikiLeaks and everything through the election, it's clear that privacy, is something that is, taking assault in the modern age, whether it's in the United States or in other countries, just because of the technological weakness that, the internet presents and how easy it is to hack something and whatever, but I mean, like the great Bill Maher said, he treats every phone call like a drug call, and hey, I need some ice cream. I need a bowl of ice cream. $50 worth of ice cream. You know, so there's a certain level where I think we have to respect the duality in terms of patriotism, where, you know, if you're going to have a Facebook page and throw up every picture of you hitting a bong, and then, you know, put up a picture of you,
No,
standing
I
in
completely
front of an
agree.
American
Anything
flag,
you put on the
you
internet
really
is
can't
not
bitch
private.
when somebody finds that picture of you having a bong in your hand.
And that needs to be something that everyone accepts. And you can't bitch and moan when that shit comes back around to bite you in the ass. There's that guy running for Congress, John something Orloff, and there's the video of him from college. I don't know, some Star Wars spoof. But that shit's going to come around. If you put it on the internet, it is no longer your private business. If you want private business, write it on a piece of paper or keep that shit in your head. That's...
I agree. I agree totally.
And I feel like that's an evolution that our generation is having to adjust for. We were very excited with the social media aspect, and there were ways that we utilized social media to, show our patriotism, things like that. But then simultaneously, it can also detract. Because now you're not just the soldier saluting the flag Monday through Friday. You also have the pictures online of you, doing the bong hit and driving the ATV into, a tree or something like that. And it takes away from the overall message that you're trying to promote. But I hear what Shannon's saying in terms of maybe there are elements in terms of the Bill of Rights that we don't necessarily practice every single day or aren't being upheld legally every single day. And what does that mean in terms of those players and their patriotism? Are they not patriots if they're viewing the Bill of Rights in a certain way?
It's great. It's a great question.
Right, but it's a valid question though of, if these things are rights that we have, is it our job to protect them? I would say so.
Absolutely.
Because if we're going to leave it in the hands of someone else, I mean, what do you expect them to do?
I think it might be our job to update them. I mean, I'm all for a constitutional convention. Let's sit down. Let's have a real reflective conversation of who we are and where we've come from and where we are now and where we'd like to be in the future.
All right, so that was part one of us discussing patriotism. We'll be putting out part two. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and check out the next one. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Podcast.